Yogah Karmasu Kaushalam.
Good morning, everyone. So, today in the session, as I stated in my previous session, that we'll be talking about the curriculum framework and its challenges. But before getting into it and before discussing the curriculum framework, which every state has developed now and some states are in the stage of development, we should also talk about some more points of new education policy. I gave, in my last session, I gave this input to you all about NEP 2020, and I also told you to please go through it thoroughly, because when we have number of discussions with everyone, we find it that we as a teacher, first of all, have the whole sole responsibility to understand the new education policy dynamics. It is very, very important for all of us. Now, you can think why? Because we are the providers of this. We as a teacher have the responsibility to disseminate or to follow these guidelines, not for present, but for tomorrow, for future as well. So that is why it is very, very important for us as a teacher to first of all understand this and also to understand the keywords associated with it. Furthermore, the stakeholder, that is the students and the parents and other people, they don't read policy as such. They simply follow what we tell them to follow, or what we are providing them, or what we are offering them. And they always see the outcome into it. What is the outcome of that? So we all know the first and the foremost outcome of education, of knowledge, is employment. I hope you all must be agree with me again. That why we are going for education, why I am taking formal education, or else why I am focusing on skill education, because ultimately we want everyone should be a body to earn something, like everyone should earn something for their livelihood, and that is why we are now finding the alternative ways of giving the education, and that is why the vocational education is in, the skill education is very much in since 2015-12. We are seeing that lot many skill programs are there, and that is why the involvement of skill in the formal education is must, because we found that only if we are giving the theoretical knowledge and if we are not giving any specific skill to the student, then maybe the student is missing out something and is not capable enough to get the employment or to do something of his or her own as well. And that is the gap we found, and that is why the outcome is this new policy with flexible structure. So now if you can see this slide, in this slide further more points are mentioned, as I mentioned in my previous session, is about institutional restructuring and consolidation. Now, what do you mean by this particular point, institutional restructuring and consolidation? You must be known about the institutional development plan. The NEP talks about IDP also, like various government institutions and even the private institutions are now in the process of making the institutional development plan and to implement it for next 20 years. So all the institutions, if you see this plan document also, if you see the IDP document also, or if you read the points of the IDP document also, you'll find that there is always the structure of the institution have its own means and purposes. Why we need to have the smart classroom, why we need to have the separate sports and recreation facilities for the students, everything has its own means. So, I am not getting into the deep of the IDP, Institutional Development Plan, but I am telling you that it is very, very important now to restructure our institutions, not only in terms of infrastructure, but also in other terms as well. Because it is now time, because as I am saying that we are changing the dynamics of higher education, so only changing thought process of teachers, only changing thought process of stakeholders, only changing the mindset is not the thing. We have to change other things also which are associated with it directly or indirectly. So that is why it is very, very important for the to take this point of institutional restructuring and consolidation. And remember one thing, this is not a 1 day or 1 month or 1 year task. That is why they have given us a target of 2040. So it will be in phase, it will be in phase-wise manner only, but we have to now we have to initiate that. And as a teacher, we have to support that. If you see the 15th point, academic bank of credit. Now, this is a very critical thing again to understand, and various teachers are actually understanding this point, that how we will be actually implementing this academic bank of credit, what will be the modalities, how we will be categorizing the institution. So, this is a little bit, you can say, long-term planning. But right now, because when we are talking about multiple entry exit options, so if, let's suppose example, if my student is leaving my institution after 1 year, or he or she may be joining some other institution, so how this credit will be matched and how this homogeneity will be maintained, this is all right now in discussion, and very soon. However, we all have to register at DigiLock. This is what is the mandate, and we are doing it. But still, I think as a teacher, it is still a long process to understand and to go and to implement. Yesterday, when I was talking to some teachers in a discussion, in a meeting, so I came across to know that everybody is thinking that implementation challenges will be there. So whenever we go for some new thing, challenges are there. But as a teacher, it is our duty to move on with those challenges, to remove those challenges, and to move further for the new things, for the innovation. So that is the only way we can only think of. However, I know that while moving, if you see right now the accreditation measures also, you are seeing various changes are coming every day. So changes are there. Nothing is static, but somewhere down we have to start. So academic bank of credit, we all know that there's a bank where the credit will be deposited, and it will definitely increase the tracing of the students, and it is directly or indirectly related to GER, that is gross enrollment ratio. So that is the main thing. Now, when we talk about the creditized PhD program, so we all know that PhD program is the epitome program in research, in education. So there are now credits to be given. Earlier also it was there, but now it is more restructured. Then National Mission for Mentoring. So here this point is especially for the teachers, wherein we talk about that how we train teachers to be mentors and how we actually mentor the teachers also, as this is also a part of the mentoring and the teaching and the learning. With the help of the refresher course, we always give something new thing to the teachers, and the higher education system is taking a lot of effort to upgrade the teacher. But here I would like to give a pause and to ask myself and yourself that are we really upgrading ourselves after having all these enormous knowledge? Are we really able, are we all ready to change ourselves? Because hope you must be agree with me that all the academicians have their own things to think of. And sometimes it is really very difficult for us to come out of that structured thought process and to do something different and to adopt something new. Like for an example, in Corona, you must have seen that majority of the teachers have faced the problem of adopting the technology. They were facing problem in accommodating with that technological changes. But that time it was need. So everyone, by hook or by crook, went into it. So why we wait for the crisis? Or why we wait for such kind of situations wherein we will upgrade ourselves? Why not this process being continuous? Why? Because when we are saying that education is not static, then definitely the teacher also need not to be static. The teacher also has to learn every day the new things, the new dimensions, the new things. So that is why the mentoring system is being enriched. Various schemes are coming, various initiatives are coming under the National Research Foundation, and it is also being given to the teachers to improve their research component as well. But here I would like to state one thing, that the teacher also should need to be categorized, that whether he or she is a teacher or a researcher or both. Because there's a huge difference between a teacher and a researcher. So I'm not taking session on that teacher and researcher part, but just ask yourself, and I always say this to my my friends also, colleagues also, and my research scholars also when I address such some sessions to them, that always categorize yourself, that maybe initially you are a teacher and you become a researcher. And then you get that curiosity to know something, to upgrade something, because we all know that we all are lagging in research part. Quality in research is really a missing factor. At college level, it is very difficult to continue with the research things because we are involved in many administrative activities and other activities. So research is full-time thing and is a very, very time-consuming thing. On the other side, if at the university level you see people are doing research, but then what is the outcome of that? Are we giving some patents or any kind of intellectual property rights out of that research? So that is why it is very, very important to understand this research process also, and how to be supportive in this research process. So that is very, very important. Then you talk about the equity and inclusion in higher education. Equity and inclusion in higher education, I also stated this in my the first session, that we now have to tell everyone, or as a teacher, it is our responsibility to support the gross enrollment ratio, and how it will be possible when we will be able to give new things, good things to the students. We can encourage them, and that is why this skill component is also there in our education mechanism, that for any reason, and that is why this multiple entry exit system is also there, that sometimes for me it is not you can say feasible to complete my study at one stretch. So if it is not possible for me, so I can take a drop, and then later on when my conditions are favorable with me, I can rejoin it. But here the point comes that how many of we will be actually utilizing it, and again the question is that may people use it or misuse it. So this is again a very big challenge. I am parallelly telling the challenges also with all the points. I am trying to tell that. So inclusion is a very big thing, is a big challenge in our country, but we are trying to do that, and we will be doing it with this dynamism. Maybe the inclusion will be more, and maybe the belongingness will be more, so far the education and higher education is concerned. Technology in education, already we all know that we are in blended era. We are now in hybrid mode. We have to have the ICT knowledge if we are a teacher, and we cannot escape out of it. So every teacher, because that is a demand of our job now. As a teacher, everyone need to understand the nitty-gritties of technology. I am not saying that technology will replace the conventional education system. It will not. But the usage of technology will help. Like for an instance, again I am giving the same example. I am sitting in Madhya Pradesh delivering the session, and people across India or maybe across one state are listening me. So that is why this is the benefit of the technology. So we all used to say, or we all used to address this, that everything has its plus and its minus. So the optimum utilization of that resource is very, very important. And even in NEC also, the ICT has taken a due weightage. So that is why it is very, very important for the teacher, and rather we can say it is a prerequisite to become a teacher, that he or she should be technology savvy and should be comfortable enough to use the technology. So this is also a big challenge for the teacher to be in the NEP system, that he or she should be well acquainted with the technology reforms, with the technology usage, and should be able to use that for their students and for their students' betterment. So that is why it is very, very important, and that is why the e-content weightage is there, marks are there on e-content, and world is open, opportunities are huge. The only thing as a teacher, we have to grab that, and we have to support our growth as well as the institutional growth. So that is the basic reason of having the technology in education. And after Corona, it has taken a due weightage again, because during Corona, we all realized that what saved us is the technology. What helped us to connect with the student is the technology. So that is why it has gained a momentum after COVID-19. Now, promotion of Indian language, art and culture. Somewhere down, we left our own culture. This is what I feel. Somewhere down, we have taken the other culture into considerations. I am not denying that other cultures we should not take into our studies or in our syllabi or in our curriculum, but we also have to promote our own heritage. And NEP is giving much more emphasis on this. NEP talks about that you have to give some learnings of our own art and culture. And remember one thing, this is not for the art student. We should not be in silos now. Recently, I have read in newspaper that IIT, they have started some separate department related to this, and STEM you all must be knowing. And even if a student is in commerce or in management, do not say or do not think this, that the student is nowhere connected with art or culture, or he or she has nothing to do with that. So we have to now remove these comfort zones and these silos which somehow unknowingly we created around us. So in this particular course, this is my duty to tell you all as a teacher that you have to break those all thought processes, and you have to respect our own art and culture, and also you have to take that into your curriculum as a part of curriculum, as a part of your academic structure, because it will help the holistic development of the students. So all these points actually in nutshell is talking about the flexibility, is talking about the advancement, is talking about the innovation, and is also talking about the changing the thought process of a teacher. Now we will move to the curriculum structure. So we all know that UGC has proposed, in NEP it is being proposed that we need to have a dynamic structure, we need to have a dynamic content in our syllabi, be it any stream. So that we have to understand. Here I will be showing you one slide in which I will be showing you that how our group of universities have just proposed the structure. It is yet to be finalized. Why am I showing you this? Is to give you the deep understanding of how the structure is there. So it is not something which I am not which everyone has to follow, or as I showed you, this is according to the structure which has been given by our state to all of us, and we have now started proposing it, and obviously we are in process to implement the same. So it is just a slide to share with you all, just to give you a gist that how it is being break up, how the things are break up. So this is in the slide, if you can see, it is own faculty, any faculty, skill enhancement, ability enhancement, field project, and overall the credits. So please don't go to the details of this. I'm not asking you to get into the details of these credits and credit mechanism. No, I'm just simply asking you to just have a look on to the top column. We are talking about the core course, group elective course, open elective course, vocational course, ability enhancement course, and about the field project internship. So all these terms, what actually they mean and how we will be incorporating this you can see in the next slide. Like core course. So this course is actually the course which is compulsory to be studied by the student as a core requirement of the program. So for an example, if you are running BCom program or like BBA program, management program, or commerce program, or arts program. So we know that every subject, every program has its core structure. So that is why the first course which student will opt will be the core course. So that is according to your subject area. It's very simple to understand that. But now here we have to understand that if I'm talking about the core course and if I'm talking about the multiple entry exit, so the content of that core course should be capable enough to give the required knowledge to the student. So there is the challenge comes. How to optimize that syllabus. Every syllabus usually have 4 or 5 units, not more than 4 or 5 modules. Modules you may call, unit you may call. So how I will create, how I will take the content into that particular core course. If I am teaching for 1 year and after 1 year if your student is exiting and taking certificate, so what all best you can give in that particular core course is the challenging task for the teacher, and that is the role of the teacher comes in. So that is the main thing. Now when you talk about group elective course, such course which shall compulsory be a part of same group of the core course studied by the student as requirement of the program. So again, if I'll take an example of my own arts department. So if I am giving, let's suppose, economics as a core, so in economics, after economics, any course of arts like sociology, political, anything the student can take, and that is talk about the group elective course because it belongs to the little bit same domain. Now when you talk about discipline specific elective course, so this course is actually from the other disciplines also, where it is called upon the discipline, the main discipline. So basically group elective course and discipline specific elective course, we have to offer it to our student and they have to select. At the school level, this is for the undergraduate, this is not for the postgraduate. So undergraduate, you all know that at school level also the students have various permutations, combinations. As I told you in my previous session that now the commerce students have the opportunity to learn physical education parallelly with commerce. Earlier it was not there. Science student can go for some language if he or she wants, and this combination actually attracts the students. If you see the dropout ratio of some conventional school, as I have seen in my area, so those schools who are providing dynamic combinations, they are much more in. why am I addressing this point here is that if I provide dynamism in my course structure, then it will definitely increase. I know that we all have certain limitations, but still in that limitation, how much dynamism we can provide, it will help us, our institution, to be little bit different from the others. And that will be the USP of your own institution. And that is the key of the NEP 2020. So as I said, that schools who are offering good and different combinations are much more in, rather than the schools who are just giving the conventional combinations and with the very limited options. So I know that a lot of challenges are associated if I am giving many options, but still, as NEP is saying, we can increase this number of options, and we actually have to do R&D for this, that what combination is actually acceptable in the market. Like if I'm saying that, as I said that art person can go for now maths, applied maths, core maths. So this is a very good combination, that if an art student actually learn maths, he or she will be able to have the logical skills also, and as well as the creative skills also. So this is all about the skills. This is all about the, you can say, the variations in the learning. So these combinations we have to take care of when we talk about this core course, group elective course, discipline specific elective course, and open elective course. So with an example, I have given you the explanation of all these types of courses. This kind of nomenclature is not there in school, but earlier only the schools have taken a, you can say, the advanced step, you must say, because we are catering to the students, those who are just coming out of the school. Undergrads especially I am talking about, because NEP is not talking anything about PG so far. NEP is focused on undergrad mechanism. So that is why my focus is also on undergrad mechanism. So whatever philosophy a student is having in 12th standard, with the same philosophy the student wants to get into the UG level. So that is why we also have to do little bit R&D at that level also, and also we have to understand this point. Now when you talk about the field project, which is mentioned in my next slide, field project, apprenticeship, internship and community engagements. So very fine line of difference is there in all these points. So whenever we designed a course, it is mentioned here in the slide that an elective course designed to acquire special/advanced practical knowledge, supplement study support to field work. So basically earlier it was also there in our structure and we were doing it, but now it has given much more emphasis and due credits have been defined, and it is throughout the, you can say, throughout the 3-year mechanism we have to carry it, which earlier we used to carry it maybe for 1 semester or sometimes maybe for 1 or 2 semesters, and it was not there in arts, commerce and management disciplines by all the, like at mass level. Some institutions must be following it. As I told you that in our institution we were following it little bit. Since 2015, we were giving one skill option to all our students, and even in odd semesters. So similarly, the philosophy was there, but now since it is structured, everyone has to follow that. That is the point. So if you can see the slide, it is mentioned here that how you will be involving the student in field project, how the student will be involved in internship and community engagement. Here the community engagement, do not get confused it with the NSS work only. NSS is having its separate working hours, NSS is having its separate schemes, and NSS is entirely a different, you can say, entity and body. But this how the students will be related to the community, how they will learn these specific things with the community, that is also a very, very important thing. And here I would like to suggest you all as a teacher that we should define certain guidelines, or we should define certain areas or certain structure for our students at the beginning of the commencement of the session, that what all will be included in field project, what all will be included in internship. Apprenticeship is mainly with the students who are actually working, and it is separate AICT guidelines are also given for this. So here we will be focusing about field project, internship and community engagement. One more interesting thing is here also that the student have an option to choose what actually students wants to do. Like maybe some students wants to go for internship, some want to go for community engagement. So I got an opportunity to have the insights from one of the higher education member from Madhya Pradesh only, and he actually give this idea to us, that is, we should not force students to go for one thing, but it is depending on the institution to institution. If you are thinking that in one semester we will focus on field projects only, so okay, you can go with that, but you have to identify that what all will be covered in field project. And here again, the role of the teacher is to monitor that field project. Monitoring is very, very important, because we know what actually students are doing in the field. So that is why it is very, very important for the students to understand this and that what they are supposed to do. And it is also very equally important for the teacher to follow up and to see the real-time effect of this in his or her learning process, and also the community engagement. So all these things need to be well defined, and this needs a lot of thinking process. Sometimes it happens that, okay, whatever has given to us, we are following it. And like just sharing here on this platform with all my teaching fraternity, that usually we teacher are in this thought that whatever has been given to us, we will follow that. But I think as a teacher, we need to be little bit critical. At least we give our suggestions, whether it will be implemented or not, that's a different story. But we also should come out of that thought process, or we also should propose something new. And remember, if we are giving something new, sooner or later it will be realized. And that is why we talk about innovation and lot many creative skills things in the NEP 2020. So all these things needs actually creativity. All these points actually helping the student to go beyond the classroom and to learn the things on practical basis. So earlier we used to say that what practical thing the student will have in arts or history, or maybe in history if you talk about what kind of skill or what kind of field work we will be give to the history student. So we can definitely coin something, we can give them some article writing, we can give them to visit some historical places and take out some points out of it. So all these new things we can think, and if you are doing it, that's good. If you are not, then you can get into all these, and so many things are there. Like if the student is from psychology, then we can give them one task to move to go to some rehabilitation centers or some kind of this kind of centers and understand the psychology of their members and everything. So that is very, very like lot many ideas are there, and we all are filled up with the ideas. Now it's time to implement those ideas and to work on that. Then talk about the ability enhancement course or life skill courses. So there also, despite of environment, English, Hindi, which is mentioned there, value education, now yoga is also there, meditation is also there, happiness is a big problem. People are not really happy these days. Students are also getting agitated sometimes. You must have seen that because you all are treating with the students. I'm also treating with this. I'm also dealing with the students. Sorry. So when we are dealing with the students, we are finding that students these days are getting impulsive very fast. So happiness is also one thing, realization, self-realization, and yoga and meditation, it is really playing a very, very good role, leading role in developing the personality of the youth. So we have to give certain life skill courses to youth, and that is a part of ability enhancement course. And then skill enhancement course, which is again a part of our curriculum, wherein you are trying to give one skill, comprehensive skill to the student. Like for an example, if I take example of arts, or if I take example of commerce. So in commerce, if you are giving maybe the training on advanced softwares, advanced account software, if you are giving training on stock market operations or the basics of stock market, you are actually making a student capable to get into that market initially. Then he will or she will learn. So learning is a never-ending process. Okay. But if you are providing that course, or if in arts I am providing a course of content writing, or if I am providing a course of maybe media, any kind of such kind of course. So that course, that skill enhancement course, will increase the skill component of the student, which will enable them to be employable, much more employable. Because with knowledge, the blend of the knowledge and skill is, we all know that there is no replacement of this. If I have knowledge coupled up with the skill, then definitely the world is open for me. So similarly, observing the NEP structure, accepting the NEP structure, if I am offering different skills and the skills which are in demand. So again here the challenge of the teacher, the challenge of the education institution is to identify those skills which are in need, which are in demand. So when we go out and we actually try to identify some content writers, not content writers in terms of media aspect, but other content writers writing things in Hindi language or in regional languages, there is a dearth of that. So if we can coin certain courses in languages, like herein you will support the point that is supporting Indian arts and culture. So if I am going with my own languages, I am developing certain course on those languages and the student is taking that as a skill, then he or she will be having the add-on points to make him or herself employable. So that is also a very important thing. And here again the challenge, or we can say the task, or you can say the important thing which a teacher has to do is to do the continuous R&D. See, in NEP, I cannot say that today whatever I have designed, it is applicable for 5 years. No. Every year, every 6 months, I have to give a check that whatever we are giving, is it in? And this is what is the dynamism. This is what is the dynamism. Earlier, what we used to do is that whatever we have designed, maybe like we have a board of studies, we have councils, we do corrections, we do amendments. But honestly, how much we are doing it, how much efforts we are putting in, and how much outcome is coming, that's again a question to ask ourselves. So NEP is now giving you the chance to see the things in between also. If you think in 6 months we will provide this one skill, if another 6 months we will provide in the other skill. But herein the most important point is that you have to have a check that whatever skill I am giving to student, at least it should give some value addition to the student. It should not be vague like thing. So there is also the mentoring of teacher is very, very important. If student is opting for a skill, we also have to talk to student, we also have to see the level of student, and then we can suggest the student. So the counseling part is also very, very important for teacher, which otherwise we are doing, but now the role of teacher as a counselor is much more important after having the implementation of NEP 2020. So this is all about the structure and the points which I have covered in my curriculum framework. Now when you talk about multiple entry and exit, so I will not get into the detail of multiple entry and exit, but we know that the student will have the option to go for the multiple entry and exit, and if they are exiting, then there are certain points, the credit points student has to earn, and that will be definitely very as per the state, but some more or less it is common because the academic bank of credit is there. So I am not getting much more into it, but now when we talk about the assessment, if we talk about the curriculum framework, we talk about the ability enhancement, skill enhancement course, field project, community engagement, all these is structure. So the most important thing is how you will assess it. So only in the curriculum the reforms are not required. The reforms are also required in examination. And again, when you talk about the examination reforms, the challenge is to first of all apply it, and the challenge is also to, you can say, you have to also upgrade yourself. When you are talking about the examination pattern, teacher also needs to upgrade that how I will assess my student. The system will change, but if you are not changing yourself, what the only standalone system will be able to do so. So that is why it is very, very important, first of all, to understand the examination reforms, understands the certain points of examination reforms, and then to bring out those reforms in your existing education system. So now as I talk about the examination reforms, how these reforms will actually help us to evaluate the student and how it will actually give us the understanding about the student level of learning, this all I will discuss in my next session, along with the key challenges which is to be faced, or which to be faced by our teachers in the teaching pedagogy, and how to combat with these challenges to make a real-time effective NEP 2020. So in next session, I'll be talking about the examination reforms along with the key challenges faced by our teachers. So now we will talk about the examination reforms. As you can see in the slide, which is talking about the reforms in examination system. We all know that 3 key elements are involved in examination or in overall quality of education aspects: curriculum, assessment, and pedagogy. The slide is reflecting that the curriculum now will go on to be dynamic. after the intervention of NEP 2020. Much more dynamic, much more flexible. And assessment, there must be some changes at certain level, but overall scenario, if we see, not much of the changes are there in assessment pattern. And we are also taking a lot of feedbacks. We are also doing comprehensive research in this area, that how our assessment pattern can be more innovative and can be more realistic. So obviously some leading institutions are taking steps in the assessment, but at mass level, if you see, the assessment pattern is more or less same and monotonous, and the you can say that having the traditional approach. So assessment, absolutely no changes so far, but if there are, they are very sporadic. Pedagogy, yes, we are doing a lot of changes. We are doing a lot of changes in pedagogy. We as a teacher, we know that we are bringing in innovation, not only by bringing ICT into it, but by giving practical learning, by getting into more realistic approach in pedagogy. But pedagogy is very, very important thing, and for us as a teacher, it is very, very important to change the way of teaching. That's very, very simple. In simple terms, I'm saying that we have to change the way of teaching. The students who are coming now for undergraduation or maybe for post-graduation, they need more of the facilitators rather than the teachers, first of all. Secondly, the world is open. The world is open. If you talk about the past, things were very, very limited and restricted, and books was there, no internet, no other facilities, no Google, nothing was there. But after Corona, after pandemic, so you all know that like world is totally open for the students, and lot of informations are there. Sometimes overflow of information is also not good, because that may give the misleading informations to the students, but somehow we cannot stop that, we cannot restrict that. But what we can do as a teacher is that we should make our teaching learning so interesting, so interactive, and so dynamic and flexible in its approach, so that the student should engage with teacher. And that is the first challenge. As I said that now the last part of my this total talk will more focus on the challenges which a teacher has to face, because this is the entire role of the teacher which comes in when we talk about the pedagogy and assessment, because pedagogy and assessments are interrelated. Whatever I am teaching, I have to assess that. So what I am teaching, the way I am teaching, what I am covering, like as a commerce management teachers specifically, and as an arts teacher as well, we are like more into the classroom approaches most of the times, and we always think that how we can make things more practical, more realistic, more feel. Although a lot of things are there which we are doing, but still we have to change, or we have to revise, or we have to reframe certain things to engage student, to make our learning interesting. Because the one more challenge which is here is that things are now almost, or I can say completely student centric. Student is having total liberty to enter into your institution, and then if he or she wants to exit, then they can exit after a certain period of time. And reasons are different. Maybe the first reason is that they may not have that you can say viability to continue the course. That may be the reason. Or the reason is that they may not find good things, or what you say, the engaging things in the institution, or they may find some better opportunities into the next institution. So now challenges are a bit more. We don't know that what student is thinking and what is going on in student mind. So now we have to be more cautious while we are talking about teaching learning and we are talking about the pedagogy. So that is why it is very, very important for us as a teacher to make our teaching learning innovative, creative, and we have to include all those aspects of Bloom's taxonomy and Solo taxonomy, whatever taxonomy we are following, and we have to actually be realistic and very, very attentive when we are giving our deliveries. That is the first and the foremost challenge. Now, when we talk about the key drivers for examination reforms, we have to see, the slide is reflecting you, that adaptation of outcome-based education framework. And we all know that now LOCF is also there, and in NEP also they are focusing on outcome-based learning. Earlier also it was there. It was not like that we were not having it. But when you talk about the UGC, the conventional courses, or you can say the non-technical courses, the much more apt word for this is non-technical courses, like the BCom or this management or other arts courses. Sometimes science also comes in, but science is more or less the technical part, experimental part, and engineering and other programs are entirely different domain. They also have this outcome-based approach since the beginning. But now in our this curriculum framework, this outcome-based learning is giving much more importance, and we all know why it is there. Because what we are giving and what student is taking and what now finally they are disseminating to the industry, this all needs to be bridging. And that is why it is very, very important for us as a teacher to understand this adaptation of outcome-based education framework. And this framework is incomplete if we are not taking the assessment process into consideration. Like if an example I'm saying that I want a student that after having one course, like if I'll take example of my own course, microeconomics, I teach microeconomics at undergrad level. I was teaching it earlier, and presently I am taking research methodology. So if you take these two subject example, so I can clear you this thing, like if in microeconomics, I want that the student should understand or should apply certain techniques to assess the demand, for an example. So what kind of assessment I will frame for student? How I will teach him, first of all, these all concepts, not just the theoretical definition, obviously. That is what is the gap, that the student learn only the definition, the conceptual part, and don't know the practical part of it. Don't know how to schedule demand, don't know how to do forecast demand. So if I'm teaching him or her the demand forecasting, if I'm teaching a student demand forecasting, and I want to assess that how much he or she got the knowledge about demand forecasting, so I have to frame my questions or my assessment, may it be internal or may it be external, on that pattern. And also I have to consider the graduate attributes into it, which UGC has already defined, and the LOCF is also covering that. So that part also we have to take care, and we have to map that. So that mapping part is a challenge again, and how to reach to the attainment of all these program outcome, course outcome, learning outcome, which we are framing and which every institution is following up, because it is also a mandate part of from NEC also and from other accredited agencies also. So that is why this outcome based education framework is a challenging task, and we are doing it, but how well we are adapting it, that is reflecting the quality of our teaching learning mechanism. Then we are also talking about the employability of graduates, growing concern about the quality and employability. So this is more or less related to the previous point, that if we are giving all these practical learning to our student, if we are giving them the real-time exposures, that is why in NEP you have seen that they have involved this field work, community engagement, apprenticeship, internship. So all these things was also there earlier. If you recall your days, it was there. In between the time, somewhere we have missed the quality of all these aspects, and things were not that as real as it should be. And that is why it is creating, or rather you can say it has created huge gap between the graduates and their actual employability. So what the student is learning, how the student is getting absorbed by the relevant industry, and how they are performing. So at mass level, this gap must have found out, and that is why these dynamic changes, these changes have brought in to create more intellectual future in the coming years. And that is why it is again a very important challenge, you say, how we should give quality to the nation. And importance of higher order abilities and professional skills. So these days, if we ask our students to do something creative or to use the critical thinking, yes, there are students, those who are doing it, but the percentage is very minimal. And that is why we are missing this, you can say, huge chunk who is not actually focusing on these things. And that is why the industry is also struggling with the quality professionals. So assessment, how the assessment will help it, definitely when I'm assessing a student with their practical learnings, I'm when assessing them on various skills which are mentioned in as in graduate attributes. So then we can say that yes, the student we are producing is adaptable to the masses and will definitely contribute to the nation. So, three main pointers of reforms, the examination reforms, or you can say the educational reforms as well as assessment strategy for outcome-based education, improving the structure and quality of assessment, assessing higher order abilities and professional skills. And these things, three things are actual the real challenge for us as a teacher, because we are supposed to frame everything. We are responsible for all these things. A quality teacher, or you can say the measurement of a teaching quality, can be taken by all these parameters. How well I am defining my content, how well I am defining my assessment pattern, how creatively I am assessing my students, so that all creativity need to be put in our teaching pedagogy. And that is why I say that an NEP 2020 has bring out this challenge for the teachers, that now the teachers have to be dynamic. They has to be dynamic, because if they are dynamic, then only they will be able to give support to the students, and they also have to upgrade themselves with all the new interventions, be it technology, be it assessment pattern, and be it any of the things which is UGC is introducing every now and then. And that all we have to imbibe in our teaching learning mechanism. So we have to break the monotony. We have to change our mindset, and that is the biggest challenge for a teacher when it comes to NEP 2020 and when it comes to changing dynamics of higher education in India. Now, who will change this, by the way? We are the stakeholders. I, as a teacher, and the student who will be coming, who will be dependent on me, we both are the drivers of this NEP 2020, along with the parents, the third most important stakeholder, who will understand this dynamism and who will follow that. See, the creation of policy or the creation of things is not that easy, but needs a lot of discussion, and you know that eminent personalities are involved in this. But that is done. Now, the most important thing is to implement it, to combat with the challenges who all will be coming while implementing the NEP 2020, and how to overcome those challenges to finally support the SDG 4, that is quality education. Further, I'll take your attention on this most important part of OBE, because this is also related to us as a teacher and how we do it and how we map it. So I will also touch upon on this OBE part. We all know, and you can see in the slide as well, outcome-based education is student-centered curriculum design. I also address this thing in my just a couple of minutes, you can say, or just in the initial part of my session, that now things are more or less student-centric. So outcome-based education is student-centered curriculum design and instruction model that focus on what student can actually do after they are taught. In our childhood, we always, whenever whosoever narrate us a story, they say that, okay, what is the moral of the story? What you are gaining from this story? So similarly, the outcome-based education also talks about that whatever I am learning, what is the usage of that? What I'll gain after that? And that part should be very, very clear. And that actually will bring in the dynamism in my syllabi mainly, and the curriculum structure. So that dynamism is there because of this NEP 2020, and now we have to go along with this dynamism. What actually OBE addresses? It addresses why do you want students to learn it, and what do you want the student to learn, and how can you best help students learn it. So this all thing need to be decided by teachers. Yes, I know that certain restrictions are there, certain things are already being structured, and we have to follow that when we mostly talk about the government institutions. But still there is you can say the flexibility to change the part 20%, 30% norms have been given in various ordinances and in various guidelines issued by the higher education authorities. So whatever the limitation we are having, we have to go by that, because we cannot violate the system. But whatever liberty we have, that liberty we need to enjoy and we need to work on that liberty. So this is also my message to all the teachers who are listening me, that enjoy that liberty which you have now gained after this NEP intervention, and give that what you actually feel to give to the students. But for that, we also have to do homework, and we also have to come forward without majorly thinking that like what long-term effect it will have. But outcome should be very clear. And that is why we say that if I am introducing a course, or if I am making one value-added course, or if I am giving any certificate course, I am thinking to give this certificate course. As a teacher, I am thinking that, okay, I should give one certificate course in acting. Like in my department, we are discussing these days. So, or if I am saying that I have to give certificate course in software and data analysis. So, I have to give the clear guidelines that what I want to give to the students from this course. What are the employment perspectives associated with this course? That R&D a teacher has to do, and that is another challenge. And yes, it has to be done by teacher only. Because I as a teacher, I as the custodian know that this course will help student to have more value additions, or it will add something to his or her resume, or it will make him or her employable. So that is why it is very, very important for a teacher to analyze first and to serve the things which he or she wants to. So that is the basic thing about the OBE. Now this slide is very interesting, which will tell you about the comparison about traditional education versus outcome-based education. Now as you can see here, it is the traditional talking about the input, whereas the new thing talks about the output. So now we are mainly talking about the outcome part, and we are more or less focused on the outcome part. Whatever input is there, it will be decided on the basis of what outcome we desire to. So the thought process is being entirely now shifted to what we are supposed to give to the student, rather what we want to give. So that is why the OBE concept has actually given us this challenge to change our thought process and to be more student, or rather to completely student centric, because what actually student will gain and what they will do after this gaining, that should be the key thought which each and every teacher has to have in their mind. Now, when you talk about the 5 Ds in OBE, what we have to do is in OBE is define outcomes, design curriculum, deliver instruction, document achievements, and determine advancement. So these 5 Ds are very, very important in OBE, and we have to see that are we following these 5 Ds? Are we covering these 5 Ds? So if we are doing it, yes, we are very much near to the quality education. And key components of OBE are vision and mission of the institute, vision and mission of the faculty department, program educational objectives, graduate attributes, as I have already shared about this, and it is mentioned in the LOCF. You must all have gone through it. If not, then please again revisit it and map your thought process, map your course with these graduate attributes also. Program outcome, course outcome, we all are familiar with these terms, and program specific outcomes. But while framing all these things, what we have to clearly consider is about we all know about the Bloom's taxonomy, learning taxonomy. So learning taxonomy should be in my mind when I am formulating all these outcomes and I am mapping these outcomes. I am not getting into details of all these learning taxonomies and OBE, because that is not the key point of my session. The key point of my session is that we have to incorporate the key aspects of NEP 2020, and considering those aspects, we have to change our teaching learning method. We have to change the content of our course if we are not finding it suitable for the present world. We also have to focus on employability part, and we also have to see that how my student will be adopted to the changing dynamics. It is not a static process, it is just at a very nascent stage. So we also have to think on this line that since beginning, if we will do small changes, if we take baby steps, then definitely the future will be bright for us and for our students as well. So the basic hurdle with all of us is to first of all adopt this in our full-heartedly. The first thing, the first challenge. Am I ready to adopt this change now? It's a question now I'm giving to you all. Because now I'm not talking about more of the structure. I've already given enough to all of you and you already know about it. The session is just to refresh you. As I said in the beginning, that is just a refresher course. So refreshing you about the terminologies, refreshing you about the concept, refreshing you about the changes which NEP is actually thinking to bring in the education system. So all these things I shared, I narrated, and I put before you all. But the major thing which I as a teacher thinks always is that, am I ready to accept this change? Is my student is ready to accept the change? But students are right now not much aware about this. If randomly you do a study or a survey and you go and you ask students or either their parents or anyone else, you'll find very surprising results. So still the people are not clear about this part. Still the teachers at max level are not very much clear about this part. So if they are not clear about this thing, how they will be ready to implement the changes which actually NEP is asking? So the first important thing which all teachers should do is to read once again NEP 2020 thoroughly. The second part is to map the pointers which are there in NEP 2020 with the discipline you are teaching. That is very, very important. Because as you see, they have given the multicultural part into NEP 2020. So now that multicultural part or multilingual, if you are talking about, may not be directly related with the commerce and management in a way, but it is mainly related to the arts. But if in commerce also we are aiming something, or we are giving some skills which are related to the multi-language, because in commerce stream, the students, the translation, the translators are required in banks, and such kind of posts are there in banks and in other government services. So if the commerce department is initiating some translation course in their department, so that will be well taken, that may be well taken by the students, and correlating that with the employability part as well. So these kind of permutations, combinations, a teacher has to think and they can suggest it. Doing or not doing, adopting or not adopting, that's a later on part. But initially, a teacher initiate. That's the most important thing and the most important challenge also. Because we are in one mindset. So again, I'm saying that to break that mindset is the biggest and the foremost challenge for a teacher. So we have to map that. Phase-wise adoption is required. So start things phase-wise. I have seen a number of teachers interacting with me, and though they are always getting confused about this, and they are sometimes creating a lot of hypes on it. So don't do that. Don't go for that. As a teacher, it's my suggestion, it's my humble request to the teaching fraternity, whosoever is listening me, understand the thing and apply it phase-wise. That is the most important thing the NEP is actually asking, because we cannot bring out the changes in one go. So we have to change the things. We have to gradually incorporate the things. So let's suppose if you are starting some new course, that 1 year we are coming up with this and we have to see the results. Still till date, we don't know that whether the student will actually go for multiple entry or exit, or will actually go for this kind of dynamism in education. It is all based on apprehensions. So anyways, we have to adopt it. So we have to adopt it wholeheartedly. We have to understand the curriculum. We have to understand the frameworks. With those frameworks, we have to change the content of our course to make it more dynamic and to make it more realistic. We have to focus on teaching learning. We have to focus on assessment. We have to be innovative in all the ways. And for that, we have to read. What we have to read is, we have to read the content of our own programs and our own disciplines, much more. We have to see the other institutions, may it be Indian or foreign institutions, what they are actually doing, how their students are much more employable in comparison to ours, what new things are actually in the market, and how we can take that to make our institution a quality institution and to give the quality education to our young buddies or to our students. So at last, I just want to convey one message to all of you, that be ready for the innovation. As NEP is saying, focus on creativity, focus on innovation, and accept the challenges. And see the demand also, what the future wants. So that we all have to be ready, and not just by mind, we all have to be ready by heart. So when we will be ready by heart to accept this policy and to accept the key elements of this policy, I am sure that we all together will bring in the transformation in the education system which our nation is actually desired to. So with this, I would like to thank all of you to giving me this opportunity to be interactive with you all. Although it was a one-sided delivery, and I don't know that how you are taking my things basically, because face-to-face interaction is missing. But I can think as a teacher, I can make it out that whatever points I have given you, if you are knowing it, then you must have cross-checked it. If you were not aware about it, so now definitely you must have get some insights about NEP 2020. And above all, I tried to open up your mind and thought process to give best to this world as a teacher. Thank you all.